title search can tell you a lot about a property. The current owners, the transaction history, whether there's a mortgage on title, and all of this is public record. The problem is not everyone knows where to find them and how to read them. Well, today, I'm going to show you exactly that. My name is Zachary Soccio-Marandola. I'm a real estate lawyer here in Toronto, and I help people like you close real estate deals every single day. Here's the plan. I'm going to show you how to get a title search, how to read one, and why they actually matter. Okay, so first, to actually get a title search or to find one, you're going to start by going to onland.ca. And this is the public access to the land registry office. And you're going to start by selecting your town or city or the land registry office if you know what that is. So in Toronto, the land registry office is number 80. You can then go into find a property. So when you click search, you have 4 options for searching. You can either type in the property information number, which is a specific code that's designated to every parcel of land in Ontario. You can search by address. If you know the certain instrument or document that's registered on title, you can search specifically by the registration number, or you can actually do a map search and go through and select the property that you're looking for. So if we're searching by address, let's just use one front and see what comes up. You have to put in your initials or name to who's requesting it, and then you would have your options. So again, I just put this in randomly. So let's say we wanted the parcel register for this property. The parcel register, just to be clear, is a title search, or what's commonly referred to as a title search. The formal name is a parcel register. So you're going to select all, and then you can either include the deleted documents or not. That just means if you're including the deleted documents, you'll have the full history, even things that were discharged from title. And if you deselected that, you would just have the documents or instruments that are currently registered on title. So you'd click continue, you can add it to your cart, and then you can check out. So when you're looking for a parcel register with deleted instruments, after HST, it's going to come out to $39.06. And you would just check out and buy it, and then you would have a downloadable copy of the parcel register, or in other words, the title search. So after you check out, you're going to receive a document that looks something like this. And this is a parcel register, again, in other words, a title search, what people commonly refer to as a title search. Now, there's a few things I want to go over, and I want to keep this just to the most important information that most of the public or realtors are going to want to look at when they're going through a title search. So the first place I like to start is the property description, or in other words, the legal description. So that's going to show us what the property is made up of. So we'll see part lots or full lots and the location of. And in some cases, such as this, we're going to see these designations where it's subject to and together with. That's what the ST and TW stand for. In this case, it's referring to a mutual driveway. So there's a mutual right-of-way to pass over certain parts of the adjacent property in this case, and for the adjacent property to pass over part of the land on this property in order to create that mutual driveway. Now, the second thing I like to look at is the owner's names. We want to verify that it is either the owner in which we think it is, or if we're just trying to discover who the owner is, this is where that information will be. And in this case, it's one owner. So we see the capacity set as ROWN, or in other words, the registered owner. Now, if there was more than one owner, so if we had 2 or 3 names here, we would see the capacity showing either tenants in common with a designation to what percentage each party owned, or if they own the property as joint tenants, meaning they wholly own the property together, we would just see the designation as joint tenants. Now, when it comes to actually reading the legal description, we're going to skip this for the purpose of this video. That's more detailed and complex legal language that is not relevant for this video. But we're going to go down here and we're going to start with the transfer. So the transfer, whenever we see that word, that's an actual transfer of ownership. So we see here there's 2 names that are in the parties too. So they're who acquired interest in the property at this time in 1990. Now we see in 1990 there is also a charge registered. A charge is another word for mortgage. So when they're registered on title, that's how they appear, and we can see that that was in favor of TD Bank. We see in 1999 there was another charge also to TD Bank, so that could be a second mortgage in this case. Now down here in 2004 we have another transfer. So this is the current owner, which you can see even though they're redacted, the names match here. And they transferred their interest in the property to this owner. So there was a transaction that took place. So that's what the transfer here tells us. Now, whenever we see this discharge of charge, that's deleting a previous charge. So obviously when these owners sold the property, they had to get rid of these mortgage or pay these out. So they do those, and then the bank or whoever holds the mortgage registers the discharge. So they can always happen later on depending on the bank. So sometimes we will see these later, and that's why here it happened, it looks like 8 months after the fact. Now we can see another charge here, this time to Royal Bank of Canada. Now this, where we're seeing the parties from, that matches with this name here. So that's the new owner who placed a mortgage on the property, or at this point refinanced the property in 2006 in favor of Royal Bank. Now we see here on the second page, and this just continues, that discharge of charge that starts up here. We can see that's from TD Bank, and that refers to the other mortgage here. And then we see down here, we have another charge and another discharge of charge. So following the names and the banks, we see that there's another RBC charge, and then there's a discharge of an RBC charge. So what happened here, there was a refinance. So there's a new mortgage placed, and the previous mortgage by the current owner was discharged from title. Now in 2022, we see another transfer. So that owner here, the single owner, transferred it to 2 individuals. Again, we see that here is the transfer, and you'll notice there's a C beside this one, and the previous instruments, including the last couple of transfers, do not have that, and that's because this is the certified version, or the current transfer that's showing the current owners. Now you'll notice we have 2 names here, but the registered owner only shows 1. We'll get to why that happened. So we see here in 2022, we have this instrument, which is not a charge or a transfer, but in fact, that's an application to change name. So in this case, it was for, I believe it was a maiden name of one of the parties here, and they changed their name legally, so they want a title to reflect that. So their updated legal name was inserted here just to reflect the current ownership. Now, after that, in 2023, there was a survivorship application, and that's what this designation is here. So what happened is these 2 owners own the property as joint tenants, which means there's a right of survivorship. So one of them passed away, so the surviving party registers a survivorship application, and then it shows the surviving party as the only registered owner, which is why we only have 1 name showing up at the top here as the owner. And we can see then later in 2023, they registered a mortgage on the property, and that was in the amount of $503,250. So again, we see that that's a certified copy, so that's currently on title, and that has not been discharged. We see a later discharge of charge, but that's referring to the RBC mortgage when this transfer happened. When we want to see what's currently on there, we look for that designation here. So we know that obviously the name change is active, the survivorship application was active, the current charge on title, and that's why we have the amount, as well as the latest transfer that's actually effective. Now, with the charge here, that gives us a little bit of information in respect with what was actually registered or what was borrowed. Now, the amount registered here doesn't always line up with what's actually owed on the property. Now, that could be because of the timing of it. So back in 2023, if they've made all their payments up until 2026, we know that the actual principal amount that's now due to pay off the mortgage is going to be less than this amount. Again, assuming they've made all the payments. Now, there's also situations where there's a collateral mortgage, so the bank registers for more money than they actually loan. And again, that number might not necessarily reflect what's actually owed on the property. So this gives us some indication, but it's not always the most accurate. Now, when you're searching title, and depending on the purpose of why you're searching title, especially for realtors, there's a few things that you really want to take note of. And going back to the top, you want to check for any easements or rights that they're subject to or together with. If there's an easement, sometimes it will say it in here. And that's a good indication right off the bat to have that checked out by a lawyer when you're preparing a listing, right? That gives you the ability to understand exactly what the rights are and to better describe the listing to potential buyers. You also want to confirm that the person you're dealing with when preparing a listing is actually the owner, and you check that either by the owner's name up here or the latest transfer, making sure that all adds up. And when it comes to the charge here, you want to check if there is an active mortgage still registered and what that amount is. Now again, even though it's not the most accurate number, in a case where, for example, if this property was only worth $450,000, and you know that there was a charge on title for more than that amount, that's an indication that there may not be enough funds available to actually pay out the mortgage, and there could be problems at closing. So that's the kind of general information that you're going to want to know in terms of how you can actually read these title searches. And again, it's most commonly used, or what I recommend it to be used for, is for real estate agents or realtors when they're preparing a listing, right? For less than $50, you can get all of this information at your fingertips and prepare the listing in a sense that you're making sure there's no issues that can potentially hold up closing before you're investing your time and energy into this. Now, again, if you're an actual owner, same thing, pulling up your own title just to make sure nothing's registered that you weren't aware of, and everything looks like it should. If you have specific questions about a title search, drop them down below in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them all. If you're enjoying these behind the scenes real estate law videos, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I post a new video every week. And if you're in the industry, I also send a weekly newsletter with practical legal information written specifically for realtors. So the link to that is in the description below if you're interested. Thanks for watching.